So, my name's Tony Bean. I'm a friend of Mike's. I'm a music producer from Birmingham, and I've worked in the music industry for sort of 30 plus years. My background is in mainstream music, so when I met Mike, me and my business partner, and Michael Graham, we were producing music for sort of mainstream labels, various artists from the UK and the US. And we decided that we were going to set up a record label of our own. And Mike was instrumental in challenging us to say, well, I know you work in the mainstream, but you're Christian guys. Why don't you do something in the Christian market? And in Mike's obviously challenging ways, Mike had a way of speaking to people, didn't he? Going back, we were introduced to Mike through Nicky Tapper at BBC Radio WM. And we were doing a part of the segment of the show where we critique music, and Mike was on the panel with us, and we realized how brutal he could be about music, but at the same time, he had an encouraging side to things, so it was never just brutal for brutal's sake. Mike was very encouraging with it. So there was a reason that he'd say, well, that needs work, or this needs whatever, or you could do more of that. So we had a real banter with Mike, and we used to really have rows with him on air about different sorts of segments of music. And it was when we first met Mike, it was like, we thought, oh, he's quite confronting, isn't he? He's got a real attitude about his music. He knows a lot about his music, and he's researched his music really well. And after we'd sort of come off here, Mike would go, let's get Nando's. And we'd be like, oh, okay. And the debate would continue in Nando's about music. And that was just Mike. And we got to know him. And as I say, Mike challenged us to do a Christian, a foray into the Christian market. Now we decided to start with a gospel album. And Mike challenged us and said, okay, well, use your so-called expertise that you have and apply it to the Christian market. And we thought, okay, yeah, we'll try that. Mike introduced us to a lot of the Christian market, sort of marketing side of things, and the radio and all of the stuff that we need to promote the album. We did an album with a group called New Life. And when we did the album, I produced it. I invited Mike to the studio when he came in, and he listened to it. And the first thing he said was, well, I didn't expect it to sound like that. I thought, oh no, please, Mike, no. And he said, well, I thought you'd really go to town on it in a sort of mainstream way. And he was like, it's a little safe, isn't it? And I was like, well, what did you expect? But Mike was the type of guy that was very provoking, and he always pushed the threshold. That's what I came to know about Mike. He always pushed that threshold. And we basically developed the album to be a bit more challenging. Some of the content was a bit more challenging with the album. And Mike was the one that helped us to market it, and he was very integral on the promotions of it, and we asked him a lot of advice about how to market in that sort of Christian market. And along with the expertise we had, we pushed the album. And I remember the album, we won a mobile award for the album. And Mike was really instrumental in that he helped us to promote. He also helped the group with their interviews. I remember him saying that if you're going to do any media, you've got to know how to speak to people, you've got to know how to present yourself, and he did a lot of practice interviews with the group, sat down with them. He was the one that did the interview on the launch of the album, and he was really patient, but he was very provoking with what he asked and demanded of people, but it was always to push you to greater things. I've got to say that Mike was a very dear friend, and more than just music. We used to go out for coffee. We'd always go out for Nando's. He'd always text me and say, Nando's. That's the only thing he'd say in the text, just Nando's, question mark. And we'd meet up for a Nando's Sunday. But he always encouraged me. And it's good when you have people around you that are not just there when things are good, but when things aren't so good. And Mike was one of those friends that he was around when things weren't good sometimes. I remember one specific, I've got to get off to -10. One specific thing I've got to recall is that when things weren't so great, and there were a lot of things I was pondering, getting frustrated with in the industry, and I remember Mike calling me and saying, meet me at Waterstone's coffee shop. And I walked into Waterstone's and he was standing at the back of the shop and he goes, come with me. And we walked around and he picked up this journal and he was right, I'm going to buy you a journal. And he walked to the till, bought the journal and he said, right, start journaling, get that stuff out of your head, write it all down, come on, just write it all down. But he had a way of speaking to me that simplified things. And sometimes it was a case of Mike just saying, why are you going over this? It's simple, A, B, C. And he just puts it so simply, and he sometimes made you feel like you were being silly about things. But that was his way of just encouraging you and seeing you through some difficult times and getting you to step back and look at things simply. But that was Mike, and I loved him. He's a great guy, and he crossed all sorts of barriers, culturally, musically, in so many different ways. He's a great guy, and I will miss him. I will sorely miss him. His knowledge and his love of music was infectious. And I wanted to be here. I've travelled from Birmingham. I didn't send a video because I wanted to be here. And that's for Mike. But